Stop scrolling for a second. I want you to listen to this. God did not place you here by coincidence. All the hurt you've gone through, all the disappointments, all the tears, all the battles, they were not accidents. Your life is not coincidental. You are not here by accident. You are chosen, placed, and appointed. And today, I want to reveal to you why your story, your suffering, and your survival were designed to unlock strength, hope, and purpose, not only for you, but for all of the people in your life. Stick with me, because what God has done in your life is greater than you know. You are not an accident. You are an assignment. That one truth is powerful enough to revolutionize the way you perceive your life, your pain, and even your triumphs. A lot of people live their lives with an attitude that they are just here by mistake, as if being in the world is some kind of cosmic accident. They bring shame, rejection, or disappointment from the past and believe that they do not matter. But when you get it that you are not a mistake, that you are not an accident, that your life is infused with divine purpose, everything changes. You start to get it that before you were ever born, before you ever drew your first breath, God already had your life plan written out. He knew the family you were going to come into. He knew the challenges you were going to encounter. He saw the failures, the fears, and the barriers, but He still put you here at this moment, in this generation, in this specific location. That's not because you are expendable, you are replaceable, or you are here to float through life without meaning. You are a mission, positioned here with intention and purpose from the Creator. When you are an assignment, your life is significant, way beyond your own goals. Assignments are intentionally assigned, not arbitrarily. No instructor ever assigns a task without intent. There is always a consequence, always something to be learned, always something that assignment is intended to accomplish. Similarly, your life is planned by God with results, lessons, and objectives that are related to something much greater than you. You have impact that you might not even be aware of yet. The words you speak, the individuals you touch, the little acts of kindness you provide, all these are your assignment. Too many are led to think only the titled, the platformed, the recognized are significant in God's plan, but truly, every individual bears weight in the kingdom of God. The humble servant, the undervalued parent, the unheralded worker, all of these are bearing assignments, no less worthy than those on platforms. Being an assignment further implies that even the suffering you endure is not in vain. What appears to be pointless suffering to you might be quite possibly a preparation for the tack that has been laid on your life. Pain cuts you, refines you, and prepares you with compassion for others who will eventually require your support. Consider how frequently the individuals whose stories you hear, whose lives you admire the most, are those who have suffered and lived. Their testimony is what gives you hope. Similarly, your assignment might be to walk through seasons that aren't pleasant, but they're unavoidable. What you go through today can be the exact testimony that gives life to someone tomorrow. That's what it is to be an assignment. It's that you carry something, deliver something, live something out no one else can, because it was purposely assigned to you. You might not think you're strong enough, good enough, or important enough to bear an assignment, but don't forget that God doesn't call the capable, He makes the called capable. When He puts an assignment on your life, He gives you all you need to get it done. Your weak spots don't disqualify you. They're actually evidence that His power is operating through you. Your fears do not erase your purpose. They instruct you to lean on Him rather than yourself. The task you have is not based on perfection. It is based on obedience. God did not need you to be perfect to select you. He needed you to be available. That's the goodness of being an assignment. You don't have to know it all. You just have to be willing to walk it out. What appears random is not with God. Life tends to be chaotic, unplanned, and messy to us. We see detours, delays, and disappointments and figure that everything is coming apart. But God gets the big picture. God sees the map that we can't. To us, it may seem like we're walking blind, but to Him, every step is purposeful. Nothing in your life is ever wasted. Every heartbreak, every door that closes, every opportunity you miss, it all serves to add to the larger story God is writing. He doesn't squander experiences. What seems like a haphazard setback could be the very thing that preserves you from being destroyed. What might appear to be rejection can be God redirecting. What might appear to be years wasted can be God getting you ready for a season where all will make sense. Compare it to a puzzle. If you take one piece and hold it alone, it appears incomplete, even pointless. You can't see the picture from that one piece. But then all the pieces fall into place and you start to see the blueprint. That's how God works in your life. Every event, every season, every experience is a piece of the puzzle. Separately, they may not add up, but when God lines them up, the picture of your purpose is what it shows. That's why it is hazardous to judge your life prematurely. You don't yet know how today's frustration is building tomorrow's breakthrough. You don't yet know how today's unanswered prayer is making room for a larger blessing. God is deliberate in every detail. The ones you've met along the way, the doors that opened and the doors that closed, all of it is orchestrated with precision. You don't get it at the time, but trust is believing that the author of your story knows what he's writing. What appears to you as coincidence is really divine orchestration. The job you didn't get but applied for, the relationship that failed, the school you weren't accepted into, it wasn't by chance. God saw something you didn't see. He kept you from something you couldn't see. He steered you towards something greater than you could have dreamed. That means you don't have to waste your life dwelling on the what-ifs and if-onlys of the past, lamenting things turning out differently. You don't have to live with regret, hoping that things were done differently. Instead, you can be at peace with the fact that God has been deliberate all along. He knows the plans He has for you. He knows the timing. He knows the way. And He has never once erred with your life. The enemy will attempt to make you believe that it's all random, that your life is simply a string of meaningless occurrences. But that's a deception meant to steal from you the confidence that God has a purpose. When you change your way of thinking and start noticing God's fingerprints on even the minutest things, you'll be amazed at how nothing is wasted, nothing is missed, and nothing is without purpose. The seemingly little thing to you might be the thing God is using to prepare you for something big. That conversation you had, which seemed routine, may have been the seed that transformed someone's life. That act of obedience that went unseen might have been the pivot point in your life. Random is not in God's dictionary. He is intentional. He is specific. He is on purpose. And when you start to realize that, you'll start living boldly, even in doubt, because you know that behind all of the things that appear random, there is purposeful intention of God at work. Your pain is preparation for purpose. Nobody likes pain. Nobody volunteers for heartbreak, loss, or disappointment. But the truth is that some of the greatest strength, wisdom, and resilience you will ever carry comes out of the seasons that hurt the most. Pain is not wasted when God is involved. Every tear, every scar, every sleepless night is forming something inside you that comfort never could. Growth never occurs in comfort. It occurs in stretching, in breaking, in pressing. Consider this: the strongest muscles are developed by resistance. The purest gold is refined by fire, and the most exquisite diamonds are created under pressure. Likewise, your pain is molding you for an invisible purpose. As you pass through pain, you are passing through preparation. God doesn't cause pain, but He does let it shape you. That shattered relationship that left you devastated might have also shown you boundaries, self-worth, and dependence on God's love, more than man's. That waiting season when you felt ignored and set aside might have been the exact time God was instructing you in patience, humility, and trusting in His timing. Every struggle is a classroom, and each wound is a lesson that prepares you to complete your task. You cannot adequately inspire someone else if you have never stood where they stand. You cannot really comfort if you have never hurt and needed comforting. Your hurt builds compassion, understanding, and credibility in places where words alone could never be effective. The life of Joseph in the Bible is a wonderful illustration. Betrayed by his brothers, hurled into a pit, sold into slavery, and wrongly imprisoned, his life was one after another of hurts. But each pit and prison was preparation for the palace. When at last he was second in command in Egypt, Joseph was able to rescue not only a whole nation, but also those same brothers who had betrayed him. If he had skipped the pain, he would not have been prepared for the purpose. The rejection was part of the preparation. The delays were part of the preparation. The betrayal was part of the preparation. What looked like destruction was actually construction. You can't get it now, but someday you'll look back and understand that the very thing you believed was shattering you was really constructing you. Pain does not indicate that God has given up on you. Pain does not indicate that your narrative is completed. It indicates that He is molding you for something that demands strength you do not currently possess, wisdom you have not yet acquired, and faith you have yet to cultivate. Your suffering is the ground in which your purpose takes root. Survival is evidence of purpose. The fact that you still stand, that you still breathe, even after all that has happened to you, is proof that there is still work for you to do. If your life meant nothing, the enemy would have done you in by now. The nights you didn't sleep, the times you figured you wouldn't make it, the times you thought about quitting, those are all testaments that you were supposed to make it through. Survival is not an accident. It's an indication that your life is of significance. Those very things that attempted to kill you merely identified how much strength you do possess. That hurricane you weathered didn't shatter you, it fortified you. That defeat didn't make you, it made you better. Each time you emerged from what was intended to destroy you, it became evidence that there is something within you the enemy could not reach. You were kept alive for a purpose. You were brought through the fire not to be burned up, but to emerge with a testimony that will inspire those still trudging through their fires. When you glance at your scars, you should be seeing survival, not shame. Every scar is a reminder that what was meant to kill you lost its power. The car accident that you got out of, the illness that did not kill you, the depression that didn't drown you, the heartbreak that didn't destroy you, all of these moments are all pointing to one thing: you survived because you are important. If your existence had no meaning, you wouldn't be standing here today. The fact that you survived indicates that you still have something to do. Survival also commands respect. People listen differently to the individual who has lived through what they are currently experiencing. Your survival lends credence to your words. When you tell someone that they can get through it, it means something to them because you've gotten through it. When you say to a person that God is faithful, there is weight behind it because you've witnessed His faithfulness in your life. The struggles you endured aren't for you alone. They're for the individuals who one day will need your testimony as evidence that they can also endure. Survival doesn't only demonstrate importance, it increases faith. Each fight you survive is a reminder that if God did it before, He can do it again. Each survival adds layers of faith in God's capacity to see you through. What you once thought would kill you is now the testimony that drives you. That's why survival is not just endurance, it is proof. Proof that you were destined for more. Proof that your life is noted. Evidence that heaven has things planned for you that earth cannot take away. You didn't make it through chance. You made it through because purpose is attached to your life. The fact that you exist today is not insignificant. There is a proclamation that the task on your life is still pending. That breath in your lungs is evidence that God isn't done with you yet. Survival is the loudest affirmation that your value cannot be debased. God's positioning is never an accident. Where you find yourself today might not appear glamorous, might not seem to resemble what you prayed for, and might not feel like home, but it is not in vain. God does not put people aimlessly. He sets them with purpose. Just as the great chess master manipulates each piece with a plan in his head, God has set you where you are now with a vision that stretches past what you have in view. At times you might wonder why you're trapped in a career that doesn't feel you're living up to your worth, why you're around people who get you all wrong, why you're enduring situations that don't allow you to soar. But what feels like a delay is often a deliberate setup. God knows how to use the exact environment you're in to cultivate the character, discipline, and resilience you'll need for the next season. Think about David. Before he ever held a crown, he was placed in fields, tending sheep. To everyone else, it was insignificant work. To his family, it didn't matter in relation to what his brothers were accomplishing on the battlefield. But God was preparing David for battle in those fields, preparing him to fight lions and bears, giving him the courage and skill to kill a giant named Goliath one day. The placement may not have appeared to be purpose, but it was a preparation for purpose. The same holds true for you. You may feel concealed at the moment, as if no one notices the work that you do, but concealed seasons are actually some of the most meaningful seasons. God conceals what he treasures until it is time to reveal it. Your assignment also carries influence beyond yourself. You may not even be aware of it, but the individuals around you are influenced by your presence. The coworker who observes how you navigate pressure, the friend who overhears the encouragement that you offer, the family member who witnesses your faith in times of difficulty, all of these are testimonies that God placed you as light in a particular place. At times, the reason for your placement is not where you will gain something there, but where you will give something there. Your example, your kindness, your patience may be the only thing another human being needs to witness to believe again in hope. You are not simply taking up space, you are shaping it. And God's positioning is not static, it's movement. The stop where you find yourself today is not the end of the journey, but it is a required layover. We too often hurry to leave uncomfortable situations, unaware that they are teaching us valuable lessons. Where you sit now is honing your faith, improving your patience, instructing you in endurance, or demolishing unhealthy bondage. Placement is not a matter of how you feel, it's a matter of call. When you quit viewing your circumstance as random and begin viewing it as deliberate, your view changes. You can handle hardship differently if you feel it is meaningful. You can serve diligently behind the scenes if you know that God observes and pays attention to what others do. Finish asking, why am I here? And begin to say, use me, God. The transition from questioning to letting go is when purpose starts to reveal itself. It is simple to get caught up in a spirit of self-pity when life has not turned out the way you envisioned it. You wonder why you grew up with that family, why you suffered that loss, why you were placed in that situation. The repeated why me keeps you mindful of what you do not have and blinds you to what God is trying to do through you. But when you turn that wail into submission, use me, God, the entire scenario shifts. That prayer invites God in to transform your brokenness into blessing, your setbacks into setups. Moses asked, why me, when God summoned him to guide Israel? He recited all the things he wasn't qualified, his speech, his fear, his inadequacy. But God didn't select Moses because he was the most articulate or the boldest. God selected Moses because he was available. When you continue to say, why me, you disqualify yourself to yourself. When you begin to say, use me, God, you place yourself for miracles you couldn't accomplish in your own strength. It's not your power, it's His power operating in your surrender. Consider how your perspective changes when you pray to be used rather than excused. Why me? Causes you to look at barriers. Use me, God, causes you to look at doors of opportunity. Why me? Emphasizes your inadequacy. Use me, God, emphasizes His. Why me? Immobilizes you in the past. Use me, God, moves you into purpose. That word change is a change in identity. It shifts you from victim to vessel. It alters your stance from complaining to cooperating. It reminds us that even in circumstances you wouldn't have volunteered for, God is able to produce fruit from your faith. Surrender doesn't imply you know it all. It means you believe in the one who does. Life doesn't always make sense, but when you put it in God's hands and say, use me, you're asking Him to write meaning into every page of your book. The divorce that never happened to you, the sickness you never anticipated, the shut door you did not foresee, none of those moments disqualify you. They were not chosen by you, but they can still be used by God. He has a style of reworking pain into purpose, of taking that which the enemy intended to bring harm and turning it to good. Your greatest assignment in life might not emerge from your ability, but from your adversity. That which you have believed disqualifies you might be the very thing God will use to qualify you to touch people nobody else can touch. When you pray, use me, God, you let go of your need to control and enter the stream of His plan. You are willing to receive divine appointments, to be put into rooms, conversations, and moments you never foresaw. Rather than begrudging where you are, you begin to see that even here, even now, you are in place for a purpose. Your story can open someone else's strength. Every chapter you've lived, every trial you've faced, and every lesson you've learned has the potential to become a lifeline for someone else. Most people underestimate the power of their experiences. They believe that what they went through is only relevant to them, that their struggles, their victories, their failures, and even their scars are personal and private. But God will take your story, the things that hurt you, and make them tools to inspire, encourage, and empower others. When you're willing to be open about your journey, to relate not just the victories, but the struggles as well, you bring a bridge for someone who is stumbling through similar strife to have hope. Consider this. Each time someone shares their hurt, it opens the door for someone else to do the same. Each witness, each survivor of adversity, each story of resilience becomes a guide for someone who is lost, hopeless, or isolated. When you talk about the times that you felt inadequate, someone else might be reminded that they are not alone in their self-doubt. When you tell of how you've survived betrayal or heartbreak, someone else might be able to find the strength to forgive or move on. Your tale is bigger than your history. It's something that can help people take the next step to get past their situation, to have faith in possibilities they might not have been able to see by themselves. Authenticity has unbelievable power. They don't listen to cleaned up stories. They relate to gritty, honest, and unpretentious stories about life. When you attempt to give a flawless account, it will impress, but not necessarily transform. Transformation occurs when individuals realize that another person has survived, struggled, and succeeded against adversity that resonates within themselves. That is why your tale is strong. It proves that one can survive, that one can grow, and that hope exists. You might not feel that your life is extraordinary, but to another person it is. To another person it is precisely the demonstration they need to believe that they can succeed too. Even your suffering can be the pedestal for someone else's triumph. The things we learn by struggle are transferable. What taught you patience can teach another perseverance. What taught you faith can cause another person to trust in God. What taught you humility can lead another person to grace. We do not live in a vacuum. We are connected, intertwined, and relational. God puts people in your life and around you so that your voice can be louder than a word. At times, the one who needs your encouragement is not a stranger half a world away, but the coworker sitting in silence at the next desk, the friend who appears sunny but is suffering, or the family member who silently suffocates. Your testimony can touch them as advice, teaching, or even prayer cannot. Do not minimize the power of your life. The scars, the failures, the tough times, these aren't weaknesses, these are keys. All that you have struggled with has prepared you to unlock doors for someone else. All that you have ever thought was the end may have been a page in a book someone else must read in order to gain strength, and strength is contagious. When someone gets up after he fell, others are also given the right to get up. When you tell your testimony, you are sharing bravery, persistence, and hope. Comparison kills, but calling gives confidence. One of the biggest pitfalls people fall into is comparing their value with someone else's achievement. We gaze upon the other person's highly polished life and ask ourselves why we did not accomplish the same, why we lack the same resources, opportunities, or fame. Comparison can make you feel inadequate, insecure, or unworthy. But when you break away from comparing yourself to others and begin to shift your focus to your calling, everything shifts. Your confidence isn't derived from what you possess, what you have accomplished, or how you compare to someone else. It comes from recognizing that God has specifically positioned you for a purpose. Your calling is customized, designed with your strength, your experiences, and your path in mind. When you center on calling rather than comparison, you start to recognize your worth through the filter of purpose. You understand that your journey is no inferior to anyone else's. It is unique and it is required. The individual that you were designed to impact is not necessarily the same as the individual another is impacting. Your narrative can impact people in ways that nobody else's narrative can. The assertiveness born of accepting your calling is not conceit, it is clarity. It is knowing that you are where you need to be with what you have and able to do exactly what God has called you to do. Comparison, however, obscures vision. It causes you to look at what you do not have instead of what you have been provided with. It causes you to question your experiences, to underappreciate your lessons, and to dismiss the potential power of your story. But when you root yourself in your calling, you understand that your experiences are not random, your struggles do not have no meaning, and your being in others' lives is deliberate. You are situated, equipped, and positioned to give voice to the world in a manner unique to you. Your calling and your story are collaborative. When you accept the power of your narrative and realize that your mission matters, you are unstoppable. You start to realize that every mistake, every failure, every heartbreak isn't a block, but a building block. Every obstacle becomes a credential to motivate someone else. Every hurdle becomes proof that it is possible. You understand that your life is not exclusively yours. It is a resource, a tool, and a light for others who are looking for hope, courage, and direction. Authority and influence are forged in lived experience. People hear differently from those who have trod the path. Advice is one thing, but testimony is transformative. When you share openly how you worked through adversity, how you discovered hope in the midst of hopelessness, how you emerged through fear or failure, your narrative is evidence of possibility. Your story gives power to the struggles of others and provides a blueprint for them to find their way. Your life, with all its nuance, flaws, and triumphs, is a survival guide, a guide to resilience, and a guide to faith. Don't downplay the power of your voice, your testimony, and your presence. What you perceive as run-of-the-mill, everyday, or insignificant might be remarkable to someone else. Strength can be imparted through example. Courage can be lit by testimony. Hope can be ignited by openness. By entering into your purpose, by owning the experiences that have formed you, and by telling your story honestly, you give others permission to discover strength they didn't know they possessed, to meet their struggles with renewed trust, and to continue on with intention. Comparison will attempt to steal your confidence, to make you second-guess your value, and to make you believe that your path doesn't count. But calling reminds you that your life is one of a kind, your experiences are priceless, and your being is meaningful. When you cease comparing yourself to what others are doing and begin to accept what God has entrusted in your care, you realize the real worth of your life. You start to realize that your narrative isn't only for you, it is a shining light of hope for somebody else, a blueprint for somebody else, and a well of strength that can roll far further than you can see. You are selected, placed, and designed. This is not something to dismiss, because realizing it transforms absolutely everything about how you perceive yourself, your existence, and your situation. Far too many people live life as if they are happenstance, as if they just happen to be born into the wrong wrong family, found themselves in the wrong location, or lost out on opportunities that others somehow so easily attain. But the reality is, your life is not an accident. Your being is not by chance, and your life has meaning that you cannot fully grasp. Being chosen is that before you were born, even God looked at you. He saw your potential, your struggles, your triumphs, and your ability to shape the world around you. You are not here by accident. You are here because you were chosen, designed, and called to do a task that no other man or woman could do. To be chosen is to see that God's hand is on you. It doesn't matter how you feel ignored, insufficient, or forgotten by the world. The world's opinion does not dictate your purpose or devalue your worth. God picked you before the world had any say. You are chosen for a purpose, and that purpose is connected to His plan, not your situation. Your failures don't cancel your choice. Your mistakes don't invalidate your calling, and your doubts don't erase your destiny. Being chosen is not about being perfect. It's about alignment with purpose. It's about being willing, available, and obedient enough to move into the plan that has already been set before you. Positioned is the intentional putting of your life in just the place that God can use you most. It's not accidental that you're in your current location, the city you're living in, the career you have, the relationships you're involved in, even the challenges that you're going through. All of these are concerted efforts to get you ready for your purpose. Consider Joseph. He was placed in a pit through betrayal, a prison through injustice, and finally in a palace through divine placement. Every place, every time, every meeting was intentional. You can think you are stuck in your present circumstances as being inconvenient, unpleasant, or even unjust, but your placement is deliberate. You are precisely where you are meant to be, surrounded by people, situations, and experiences designed to mold you, equip you, and ready you for what is next. Being placed is not so much about readiness. It is also about making a difference. Your placement in a specific environment is not random. It is intended to enable you to make a difference in people's lives in ways you cannot yet envision. The people around you, the environment you are in, the challenges you are facing, they all serve as the backdrop for your influence. You may not realize it, but your presence alone can be a catalyst for change. Your attitude, your faith, your courage, and even your perseverance become examples for others to follow. God places you not just for your development, but also for the development of others. Purpose means that all aspects of your life have purpose. There is a purpose behind your experiences, a purpose behind your gifts, a purpose behind your life, your talents, your passions, your personality, and even your challenges are all things that God will use to complete His mission. Purpose is what creates significance. Without purpose, life can be hollow, aimless, and without meaning. But when you know that your life is purposed, you start finding value in your life, purpose in your struggles, and potential in your situation. Purpose turns obstacles into opportunities, failures into stepping stones, and setbacks into setups. It provides direction for your life, and it gives your experiences a meaning that matters. When you understand that you are chosen, placed, and purposed, it changes how you view adversity and challenges. Challenges are no longer obstacles to stop you in your tracks. They are lessons to build character, faith, and determination. Trials are no longer useless. They are sharpenings intended to make you stronger for the task at hand. When the devil attempts to persuade you that your life is irrelevant, remind yourself that God's selection, positioning, and intention cannot be negated by human judgment or situational conditions. Your value is determined by divine choice, not earthly standard. If God placed you somewhere, it was not an error. If He placed you in specific experiences, they were not random. If He endowed you with gifts, they are not useless. Your status by choice confirms that you are worth something. Your placement confirms that you are in the right position. Your purpose confirms that your life is irreplaceable. Living out of this reality means living into your calling, stepping out into your influence, and acting in the assurance that your life has significance far greater than the world can quantify. Knowing your purposed, positioned, and chosen identity also shifts your approach to comparison. When you no longer compare your life to others, you know that your life is one of a kind and on purpose. You are never supposed to be as far along as someone else, doing exactly the same thing at exactly the same time. God's timing is divine, and His creation is customized. You can look at others and feel envious, frustrated, or inadequate. But if you recall that you are chosen, positioned, and purposed, comparison no longer has power. Your attention now turns to your mission, your development, and the impact only you can make. Your faith becomes your filter through which you operate. When you live by this truth, you start trusting that your life is not a series of coincidences, but a narrative written by God. You start seeing divine patterns even in confusing or painful seasons. You stride with confidence that your life is not accidental, that your steps are not random, and that your story is part of a greater narrative of hope, influence, and fulfillment. Your decisions, your actions, and your reaction to life are no longer random. They are steps in an intentional journey, guided by holy wisdom and crafted to achieve meaningful results. Being chosen, placed, and purposed also creates. When things get tough, when the doors shut, when relationships break down, you do not fall apart because you know that your worth and purpose are not tied to the current situation. You know that setbacks are momentary, that tests are instructors, and that your task is still intact. You are able to endure because the one who called you, placed you, and assigned you purpose is dependable. You no longer trust your own strength alone. You rest on the reality that God is working out every single area of your life for good. When you let this become real to you, you start living differently. You come to each day with purpose, aware that your presence makes a difference. You make choices with mindfulness that your decisions have significance. You seek out opportunities with assurance that you are competent and prepared. You welcome your relationships with wisdom that your interactions can influence, motivate, and change. You persevere in the face of adversity with boldness because you understand that you were brought to this time for a purpose, prepared for a mission, and selected for a reason. If God brought you here, He was fully aware of what He was doing. Every aspect of your life, the situation, the conflicts, the triumphs, the failures, is all part of a careful plan. You are not chosen by circumstance, but by purposeful selection. You are placed not haphazardly, but intentionally. You are designed not randomly, but on purpose. Knowing this changes the way you exist in your life, your faith, your work, your relationships, and your destiny. You no longer exist apathetically. You exist on purpose, boldly and confidently, because you know that your life has meaning, influence, and value far greater than you can yet envision. Remember this: you are not an accident. You are an assignment. God put you exactly where you are to grow, to learn, and to influence others. What seems random to you is not with Him. Every closed door, every heartbreak, every battle is molding you for your purpose. Your pain is preparation for your purpose, and your survival is proof of your importance. God has put you where you are, not by accident, but by design. Stop saying, "Why me?" and begin to say, "Use me, God." Your testimony is powerful. It can unleash strength in somebody else, ignite hope in somebody who's shattered, and shed light on somebody who's in darkness. Comparison will seek to steal your confidence, but calling will bring you clarity. You are chosen, you are placed, and you are called. Your life matters, and God's hand guides you every step of the way undefined. So whether you are going through pain, struggles, waiting, or even scars, God is utilizing them all to mold your destiny. Your life is on purpose, your story is strong, and His plan for you is unstoppable. Never forget, God didn't bring you this far to leave you broken. Your story matters. Your purpose is real. Stay faithful, trust His plan, and keep walking in the assignment He has for you.